What's up everybody, we are Deanna and Phil. Deanna here is from the United States and I, Phil, am from Germany. And in this video we're gonna talk about high school differences between the US and Germany.
We wanted to give a quick disclaimer. These are based on our observations and experiences. Differences are not a negative thing. And we are speaking from our personal experiences. We are not representing Germany or the US as a whole.
A little bit.
For reference, I went to a public high school in South Carolina with 2,000 to 2,500 students overall.
And I went to a high school here in Germany, a gymnasium, we're going to talk about that later, in a very small town in Germany. So it's a very small high school. I think we only had like 800 kids there. And I can imagine it being a little bit different to the ones in the city, but that's my experience and that's what we're going to talk about. So the first point we want to talk about is the high school concepts. And in Germany, I think we are a little bit peculiar with that because we do not have only one type of high school. We have 3 or even 4 different types of high schools. And they're kind of separated by skill level. So in elementary school now, depending on how you perform, you get a recommendation and then you go to the first tier of high school, which will potentially be the university students later on. The name of the first tier is the gymnasium, which is English for the gym, right? The sports hall.
Yeah, where you
call it that.
The awkward locker changing situation.
Weird situation for Germans. Then there's a second tier of high school, which usually do apprenticeships and stuff like that. The second tier is called Realschule. I don't even know.
Real
school.
Real school, yo. Not the fake school.
And then there's a third tier of high school, and those are also like apprenticeship jobs. And the third one is called Hauptschule, the main school.
Ah,
that's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you kind of get categorized into how good you are in school, and you go to a completely different physical school. Like there's a separate building for each one, and you just go there with all the nerds or the wonks, and then all the other people go to that one, and that's how it's separated. And I feel like that's kind of weird now that I think back about it.
Yeah, is it all public? These are not considered private schools, right?
No, that's all public schools. It's a public school system in Germany.
Yeah.
There's also a fourth kind for like handicapped people. So they are with each other and get special treatment.
Yeah. Ah, that's interesting. So when he first mentioned that, I thought it was the difference between like public and private or something.
No.
So in the US, you have public, private, magnet, charter, all different types of schools.
What is magnet and charter?
I don't know. The specialty schools. I think magnet schools. So in the US, we do kind of have a tier, but not really. Some states are statistically known to have better high schools. And I know, depending on where you're from and what area, I have cousins in both California and DC. In their areas, the high schools are way more competitive to get into, even though they're public high schools. Like you want to be from that high school.
What happens if you don't get into high school?
No, you'll get into a high school, but there are some high schools that are better because they have better education and classes that you can take, and there's a better chance for you getting into a good college after that.
I also think there are some very expensive private high schools in the US, right, which are hard to get into and are expensive. That was interesting to me. Yeah, but you don't have the separation in tiers, but what you do have is the advanced classes, right?
So
within one school?
Yeah, usually it depends on the high school, but I went to a public high school, so we would have different classes. CP, which is the base high school level classes, then we had honors classes, which are a little more advanced, and then we had advanced placement classes, which are college level classes, AP and IB classes. So if you took those classes, you had the opportunity to take a test at the end of the year, which could count for college credit.
So at the same school, you have people going to a basics math level, and the same age people could go to an advanced program with other people, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the division, but within one big school.
Yeah, you're not separating them to different schools because it was so weird to me when you talked about the different schools. What if you're really good at math and you're just like okay at reading or something or language or something? Like, why would you pigeonhole someone?
That's a problem. If you go to the first tier one, you are in all the advanced classes. And it very often happens that people are, for example, good at math and they are very bad at French or a third language.
I could see that helping the people in the advanced school a lot, but it's also hindering people in like, say, the like second tier school or like third tier. You're not getting advanced
I think
education.
Might not be as great. We have a couple of these integrated schools where they are together and just take classes, but it's very, very small percentage.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting when he told me about the different tiers because That was a little bizarre to me at first.
Our second point that is different is the high school duration. The high school duration. And how is it in the US?
So we have 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
4 years
4
only.
years.
And we in Germany used to have 7th to 12th grade, or earlier even to 13th grade, but let's not talk about that. Now it's 12th grades in every state, I think. And nowadays, I think they got rid of middle school, which was 2 years, 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
So now after 4 years of elementary school, we usually go to high school from 5th to 12th grade.
That's crazy. Like 5th
Which
can
is
be
fifth,
pre-puberty,
ninth,
and then you
ninth,
have some
tenth,
like grown-ass people in school with you. That
Yeah.
would be terrifying as a 5th grader.
So 8 years of high school compared to 4.
Yeah. I think when my parents were going to school, they had junior high too, which was some condensed version. I can't remember.
Yeah, what's junior high?
But for the most part, I think it's kindergarten to 5th grade, then 6th, 7th, 8th is middle school, and now high school is the 4 years at the end. But do you have the fancy names for every grade?
No, and they are so hard to learn for a non-native speaker.
I remember being confused when I first went into high school. There's freshman, which is 9th grade, sophomore, which is 10th, junior, which is 11th, and then senior is 12th. And
Yeah.
I thought it was so weird to me because junior didn't sound right.
Junior sounds young,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. Dude, when I don't know what first I encountered that, watching American Pie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sophomore year. Like, what word are you saying? Sophomore?
Such a weird
Sophomore?
word.
What is that? I think it's kind of cool. You're always like, yeah, my junior year, I'm going to be a senior next year. Look at these sucky sophomores down there.
It's the same in college too. When you have the 4 years, like the average 4-year college, they call all those grades the same thing
Yeah,
too.
4 years college. College is more than 4 years. I went to college for like 9 years. No, I'm kidding.
That's a
but little
stereotype
longer.
of Europeans. So our third point we want to talk about are the high school grades/scores that you get. For us, we have A, B, C, D, F. We skip E, but it's also based on a 4.0 scale. We have weighted and unweighted GPA based on those advanced placement honors or like regular classes that you take. I remember it being very complicated and calculating my GPA all the time because I wanted to see like what my GPA was because that determines what kind of college you get into.
And GPA is basically your overall high school performance in a number. So
Yes.
colleges know how good of a high school student you were, right?
Yes, thank you for explaining that. 'cause
I never know what a GPA was. So I'm like,
it's
what are
the
you
thing
talking
you
about?
obsess about in high school.
So
Anyway,
in Germany, you go to school and you usually have grades 1 to 6. Like 1 is the best.
oh, that's so opposite.
And then 4 is the worst one you can pass with. And we have 2 different grades of failing, 5 and 6. If you fail with a 5, you just failed. But if you fail with a 6, you failed hard.
What
It's
is-
like,
it's failing as a fail. Why would you fail hard?
because you combine the grades overall in the end too. If you have 2 or 3 5s on your transcript at the end of the year, you have to redo the class. If you have
okay.
1 6, I think you have to redo the class. Something like that. So the 6 is way worse. It's very hard to get a 6, I think. 5s happen sometimes. I think I had 1 or 2 5s on the transcript in my entire school career.
Interesting.
But never had to repeat a class. So
We wouldn't have been friends. I was kidding.
wait.
That's so interesting because logically it makes sense. The best score should be 1, but in the US, the best score is either a 5.0 or a 4.0, and the worst is like a 1 or a 0.
However, when you approach the later part of high school, 11th, 12th, and formerly 13th grade, I think 11th, 12th now, it's called the Oberstufe, it's the upper class, like the seniors, you know? They changed the grade system all of a sudden to 0 to 15. And 15 is the best. So you collect these points and then at the end you just get a grade. When you graduate, you're like, you graduated high school with a 2.1.
Cool. Do you have class ranks? Like, do you have a valedictorian, the first in the class, like the best person who gives a speech at the end of the year?
No. I think
What?
that's so high school movie like.
Yeah, it really is.
One point of this video is all what we see from high schools are from these movies, like 10 Things I Hate About You, Mean Girls,
Freaks and Geeks TV show.
What is it? 21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street.
All these, and it seems so cliche. And when I met Deanna, I noticed that a lot of that stuff is true, and I think that's so interesting from a foreign perspective that a lot of these things seem to be true. And really, that's the best student is called the valedictorian,
Yeah.
right? With the best grade.
Yeah.
And he's mandatory, has to do.
He?
Yeah,
He? She?
it.
They. Just say them.
They just have to do the speech. It must be great for the others. I look at the one. Okay, so now we're gonna get a little bit into the daily school routine, and our fourth point is gonna start with getting to school. Do you wanna start?
There are a lot of options getting to school. You can walk, you can take the bus, you can carpool, or you can drive yourself.
Nobody walks in America.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people. My mom walked to her high school because it was close by.
Oh, well. All right. But the big question, do you all go in these big yellow school buses? Like in the movies.
So in elementary and middle school, I took the school bus more, but in high school, we had carpool. Because in the US, you can drive at the age of 16, sometimes 15.
Yeah.
I had upperclassmen friends, so you could always carpool with one of them. I think a lot of people take the bus, though.
Yeah. I don't want to skip that because that is fascinating to me. When we were in the US, I saw that. I saw these yellow buses like they look in the movies. They drive around these suburbs, the neighborhoods, and stop at every door, right? They bring you to your house. We had people coming from the villages to our small town, and they take a normal bus, like a
public transportation
like a
bus.
line, like a normal bus, and they stop at the bus stop. And for us, a lot of us in the small town, we walked or drove our bikes to school, like bicycles, and then we only can drive when we're 18 or 17 now, but only with a legal guardian, so really just 18.
Yeah.
So we were only able to drive like in the last year or something like that to school. And we had a very small parking lot.
My high school parking lot was like a Walmart parking lot. It's huge.
That's ridiculous.
Because there were so many people that drove. And I remember being 15 and getting my restricted. But if I got an approval from my coach, my athletic coach, I was able to drive to school and back with it. That was my state in South Carolina. You were allowed to do that.
Cool.
There's always these kids with like crazy cars, like Mercedes, BMWs, and they would always park in the front to show off how nice their car was because their parents owned some like car dealership or something.
That is so movie-like.
It's so funny.
Mustang, whatever, yeah.
I drove a Chevy Astro van, a tan one.
But driving a van as your first car is kind of cool.
No.
Like a crappy van, like a band van.
No, it wasn't cool in high school, or at least for me, I felt a little embarrassed to drive it, but I was happy to have a car to drive to school, to be honest.
I want a van. Okay, and then point number 5, continuing with the daily routine. I think in Germany we start around 7:45 something, right before 8 a.m. When do you start? I think there are a couple of differences there.
Yeah, I think it depends on the state and the school. I just looked up my high school website and it says it started at 8:45, but I'm pretty sure it was earlier.
I want to go there.
No, I think it was like 8:20 or 8 o'clock when I went to school.
Oh.
And then you end at like 3 or 3:30.
Wow. If that's true, I wished I went to the US, but I hated getting up early. It was the worst in high school, and we had to be there at like 7:45. You go right in and it starts. The usual time frame is you either have 6 periods, 3 double ones, or 8. The normal finishing time I think was 1:30, and if you have 8, it's around 3 p.m.
Your classes were shorter then.
Yeah, 45 minutes, 1 period, double period, 1.5 hours.
Yeah. So at least for my high school, we all had these half lockers and we had 7 periods, and I'm pretty sure they were like 50 to 55 minutes per class. And in between classes, you would have to switch to a different class because we had different teachers for each subject. Did you guys have that too?
Yeah, we had to switch. But funny thing, the locker situation, that is so movie. Dude, I want one of these lockers. We didn't have that. It's so sad. Germany is just sad in comparison. It did mean people sometimes write something bad on somebody's locker.
I feel like that never, maybe it did happen. I don't remember.
Or locked a poor little one in their locker and closed it and we're like, oh yeah, dude.
I do remember the gym lockers though, and they were horrible because I think they were a little bigger and you could actually put someone in there, but I feel like the whole gym locker situation in general was horrible because you had to change in front of people while going through puberty. That was like the worst.
Yeah, we never did that. We never showered. After PE.
We didn't shower. You just had to change into these nasty gym uniforms and then
But you keep your underwear on.
Yeah, and bra. And so it was just gross and sweaty if you actually did sports and then you'd have to just change. It was horrible.
Yep. All right, so going back to our school, we only had like 2 breaks over the entire day and they were just 20 minutes. And we did not have like a canteen or a cafeteria. All we had was a little kiosk where guys sold like chocolate bars, milky drinks, or a bread roll with like a slice of cheese on it. That was our breaks, and we didn't really do anything. We just ran around or played like soccer on the schoolyard with like a tennis ball because the big ones weren't allowed.
We weren't even allowed outside because we weren't allowed to leave the school. Well, not unless you had a teacher. Like for lunch, you had to stay in this giant cafeteria, and it kind of looks like the movies. There are different seats and everything, or at least for my school, like the jocks sat together, like the smart kids, the people who are in cross country sat together.
That's the beginning of every high school movie.
I think in the high school movies, they make it way more dramatic than it actually is, but you tend to sit with your clique or your group of people you hang out with. There's the jocks that wear their Letterman jackets every day to school.
We don't have them.
There are always these hot girls and guys that look like hot adults in high school. They didn't go through that awkward like teenage stage, and I don't understand.
Yeah,
and I had braces and I was straightening my hair fugly.
Like my puberty was one weekend when I was 11, and then I come out as a hot 13-year-old. That's like people.
Oh, you're talking.
I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking about. Yeah, I
I've
know
seen
what
your
you're
photos.
Saying. Like what's going on? No skin problems, no nothing.
Yeah, no acne. It's not as big as the movies, but there are definitely cliques. I remember at least my high school had it. But I think it's also if you go to a bigger public high school, it tends to happen.
Yeah, I can't speak for every high school in Germany, but mine is on the country here. There's barely any diversity. So I don't know, boring again.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
But these jocks that you're talking about, it's so funny that you say they actually wear these jackets. That is the most American high school thing you ever see. It's always these jackets. I always wanted
colors
one.
on them.
But speaking of them, I want to talk about point number 6, which is sports and extracurricular activities. And I think in America, there's just way more value and emphasis on sports in high school and college, right? Whereas with us, that was really not a big thing.
I mean, I think it varies on region to region. We have more American football is the biggest thing. On Friday evenings, people would go to the football games and watch the football players play football. But we had track and field, swimming, softball. I was a part of the swim team and the long distance track team. You could be basketball. There's everything.
It's so interesting how normal you speak about it. We have that. We don't have any. High school is not for sports. You have one time a week you have PE, which is mandatory.
Yeah.
That's PE. That's in your normal schedule.
Yeah.
But then we don't have a basketball team. We don't have a football team. All we had was like 1 or 2 opportunities as a extracurricular activity, like a club. We had like a chess club. We tried in like 11th or 12th grade to do a little flag football team, but that was really, we just got these things and we're like, can we maybe use the sports facilities for an hour after school? And it was like paperwork and stuff. Yeah, you can. That was our club, was like 6 people.
Oh.
And there are no sports offered officially by the high school. Like, that is not a thing.
Is that just your high school or is that all of high schools in Germany?
Let me know. I don't know. My high school was like that.
That's crazy.
Let me know if you're from like a bigger city, if there are sports teams like that.
Yeah, seriously, let us know because I was interested. When he told me that at first, it blows my mind because there's not a lot that I enjoyed about high school, but the one thing that I really enjoyed was being a competitive athlete.
And you compete against other high schools,
yeah, you get to go to competitions or track meets or swim meets, and we had like the French Honor Society and the Spanish Society and chess club and all these other clubs too. Also, another thing that we had was like additional schooling. So there was sometimes a culinary center or like an art center that you could go to. Senior year, I had enough credits where I applied to this art center. So part of the day I went to do like art projects and stuff like that because I was really interested in that. One of my good friends in high school, he went to a culinary school for part of the day. Let us know also if you're from a different area of the US, what kind of high school you went to, and did you have these big sports things like I'm talking about? Because I think I just went to a very big public high school.
Yeah. It just sounds so much better to me. We don't have any of that.
I don't get it because you get off of school so early that what did you do the rest of the day? Like I was filled with either I was working my job or doing sports. That's what you did after high school.
When you're a teenager, you think about girls or play video games.
Wow.
All right, and our 7th and hopefully last point we're going to talk about here is something like school events, like balls and the prom.
Balls?
Isn't that what it's called? We go to the ball.
Yeah, well, we have like prom and homecoming, stuff like that, where everyone gets these really tacky dresses and you wear suits and tux.
Homecoming queen and king.
And there's homecoming court. I forgot about those things.
We had one prom, that's it. Like high school, 7 years or whatever. prom and done.
We have junior and senior prom. So as a junior or a senior, you're allowed to go. If you're a guy or a girl and a senior or junior asks you when you're a freshman or a sophomore, you can go
Then
to
you're
the
hot property.
hot property. It's so weird. Now that I think back at it, it's kind of ridiculous. People would ask people to prom in like proper proposals, like big letters, will you go to prom with me, Katie? Or Stephanie, will you be my prom date? Or Sarah, well, usually guys were asking girls, especially in the South.
But do you do these events like, what is homecoming? What is...
Homecoming is in the fall and it's for football, American football. And I remember I had to walk on the football field with my dad because I was the date of this football player.
Dude, so like I said, I don't think we had any of these crazy events. Like sometimes there's a little bit of a Christmas decoration for the last day of school. And instead of one period math, you do like breakfast. That's a thing. But yeah, in the end, like event, you graduate, you go to prom, very boring, just a rented hall, not much money there. Music, drink, done.
What? Really?
That's it.
You didn't have prom themes? Like our student council body, the group of student council people that were elected went all out. It was either Paris theme or Vegas theme or some obnoxious theme. I'm not trying to be insensitive to the people.
Your graduation class has a theme. And ours was Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You have so many more social situations where you obligated to do things.
Yeah. So we would have like pep rallies during school to hype up the football players or the basketball players, and you had to wear your school color and the mascot would be running around the field and there'd be games with the teachers. I didn't really want to be there, but also a lot of people loved it.
I think the high school system in the US forces you way more to have these social interactions, to do sports, to go to events and do all that stuff.
All right, so that was our awkward trip down high school memory lane. There's some things I really liked about high school and a lot of things I really didn't like about high school. Yeah. But it was interesting when we were talking about our differences between schools.
And I think everybody has that feeling. Thinking back about high school, you're like, damn, it was such a good time. All you have to worry about is to go to school and do your thing. But I think while I was in there, like, not a lot of people really love it.
Yeah, I remember it being pretty horrible.
But then you miss it afterwards.
Not really.
But my takeaway definitely is that a lot of these things that you told me, that you talked about in this video and in the last couple of years, a lot of the stuff is true that you see in the movies, and American high schools are really different than the ones in Germany, or at least my experience.
Yeah, I think based on our experience, it's two totally different things. Yeah. I'm curious to other people. Let us know in the comments how your high school experience was or is if you're still in high school.
Please let us know from the US and Germany too. Like if you're from a bigger city or somewhere, let us know what your experience was.
Yeah, I'm so curious to see. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.